Hi folks, and welcome to the new episode of the Franchise Entrepreneur. And today I want to talk to you about how do you measure the risk of expansion. Now, every business reaches a certain key points in their development and their evolution. It doesn't matter whether you are a one-man band, freelancer, or a business employing 5, 10, 20 people. At some point you will get to where you will ask yourself, should I grow? Can I grow? How do I grow? But the big one for me, the big question is, what is the risk and how do I measure this? Or determine if the risk is worth the possible upside. What will growth look like to you? i.e., is it more staff employed or maybe contracted out? Is it bigger premises or taking on your first site? Maybe it's taking on your next site. Maybe you already have a high street location or an office block. Maybe you need to expand or look at different locations in different parts of the country. Maybe it's a new product. Is it self-improvement, education, taking a mentor, or educating yourself via courses? In all these situations, look at the monetary value of implementing them. Now, a contractor is easy. It's the cost of their ad hoc time on a specific project, but it's not a fixed cost. New staff is a fixed cost, but will it free your time to build revenue, or will they generate revenue themselves? The point with this is the cost will almost certainly be there before the upside. So how long will it take to get to the upside is the question. Time is the cost here, and you will find that time is the common factor in all of those above scenarios. Cost in the short term to increase sales in the long term. A good way to absorb cost of this person is to sometimes self-sacrifice in the short term on discretionary expenses, or maybe even reduce your wages. But I stress that this has to be short term. If you find a new head or a new staff or new premises cannot or is not having the desired effect on sales, then all you've done is made yourself poorer. So time is the big factor in measuring the risk. Premises, again, will be exactly the same calculation. It's cost versus time against revenue. Of course, when assessing the risk of doing something, you should also be aware of the risk of not doing something or not doing anything. Competition moving into your space, losing your competitive edge, not keeping ahead of cost increases. These things are all slowly eroding on your profits. Not educating yourself to new innovations, ideas, broadening your knowledge and missing opportunities. Being a one-trick pony. All of these are risks. The risk of doing nothing can be the biggest risk. For me personally, I assess the risk and mitigate as much as I possibly can. But doing nothing for me is always the bigger risk. It's always a risk to my own personal sanity and the well-being and my well-being, because I know myself. I know that I may lose interest in parts of my business. I might feel that the lack of progress is a direct reflection on my own achievements, and I will be disappointed in myself. It's not about other people or external factors being disappointed in me. It's about myself. It's about me. And the one person you don't want to disappoint is yourself and that voice within you. So remember this all the way, always, when you are assessing risk. Too much time, the risk pendulum moves too far over. The risk is about the time. It's not necessarily about the short-term cost. It's about how much time it will take for you to see the upside. I can give you an example that we are just going through now in my business. You know, we have hit another point in our evolution where we've created a new brand. We've opened the first store. It's done pretty well, and we're now looking to expand it. So we've looked at a new location. This is a restaurant in Liverpool. It's a much bigger premises, a bigger cost, and therefore the risk assessment I have to carry out is how long will it take for us to cover the capital outlay for that business, and how long will that business take to break even and then start paying us back. It's a bigger risk for us. But the risk of doing nothing means that we may lose our opportunity within the market, because I believe there is a gap in the market for us to fill. So I will mitigate those costs as much as I possibly can. And one of the mitigations will be the location itself. What is the risk if that business does not get to the kind of sales that we need them to? What's its break-even point? But what if it does actually lose money? How long can I absorb those costs for? And how good a location is it that I could potentially offload it as quickly as possible? You know, what would be the value of that lease? How attractive is the location? So I can mitigate some of my potential downside by saying, well, okay, it is in a very good location. I've got a decent rent level with it. It has all of its licenses, which makes it more attractive. It's in an area which is continually being developed, and therefore it's not a dying area of the city. So I have mitigated some of the costs and the potential of the downside. It could also demand a premium for that location because of its licenses and so on. So I can always pull back some of the capital outlay that I've made on it. So I'm already assessing the risk and the downside of it, as well as looking at the potential upside. Obviously, I'm hoping that the upside is going to be there, and that's what I'm doing it for, because it's obviously I'm looking to expand the brand and take it to the next level. But I'm also looking at it and saying, well, in worst case scenario, this is how I mitigate some of those risks. So again, I will repeat this. The key element to all of this is how much time this will take. Too much time equals the risk pendulum swinging too far over in order to make it a viable proposition, or the risk just becomes too much. So time is the big element on all of those scenarios that I gave you before. So that's how I measure risk within my business and how I measure risk of expansion. And as I've said, the risk of not expanding can sometimes far outweigh the risk of actual expansion. So I hope you found that useful, and I hope it helps you measure some of the risk of your expansion or what you're thinking of doing within your business. Please do leave your comments and feedback, and please tune in again to the Franchise Entrepreneur next week's episode.